Why Candace Parker is proud of Fever's Caitlin Clark amid season-ending injury. The post "Why Candace Parker is proud of Fever's Caitlin Clark amid season-ending injury" appeared first on Clutch Points. The Indiana Fever suffered a major blow last week when star guard Caitlin Clark announced she would miss the rest of the season due to injury. Clark dealt with multiple injury issues during her second season in the WNBA, and Fever head coach Stephanie White remarked that the team ran out of time to get her ready to where she could return safely this year. During a recent episode of Candace Parker's show, Post Moves with Candace Parker and Aaliyah Boston, co-hosted with Caitlin Clark's Fever teammate Aaliyah Boston, Parker explained why she was proud of Clark amid the injury. She had never missed a game in her collegiate career, Parker said. "I'm proud of this generation for taking the time they need, looking at the bigger picture and making sure they get healthy." Last season, Clark played in all 40 games as a rookie. This season, she was limited to only 13 games. Clark was selected to her second consecutive WNBA All-Star appearance, but was unable to play due to injury. While it was a groin injury that kept Clark sidelined for the remainder of the season, she also dealt with a quad injury earlier in the year. In the games Clark did play in, her numbers were mostly down from last season. She was averaging 16.5 points, 5.0 rebounds, 8.8 assists and 1.6 steals with splits of 36.7% shooting from the field, 27.9% shooting from the three-point line and 82% shooting from the free throw line. Clark was not the only major injury the Fever dealt with this season. In addition to Clark, the team lost 4 other players to season-ending injuries, including Sydney Colson, Sophie Cunningham, Ari McDonald, and Chloe Bibby. McDonald and Bibby were even hardship contract players to help mitigate the team's growing number of absences. But the Fever still managed to clinch a playoff berth this year in their first season with White at the helm as head coach. Related, Fever's Caitlin Clark gives ESPN broadcasters special gift before regular season finale. Related, Sophie Cunningham reveals preferred playoff match. The hush fell heavier than the Indiana humidity the night Caitlin Clark limped off the hardwood. In a season where her every three-point bomb felt like a crescendo, the sudden silence of a season-ending injury seemed almost cruel. Fans who had painted their faces, worn her jersey, and rearranged their summer evenings around Fever games found themselves staring into an empty space where her brilliance once danced. But amid that sorrow, a voice rose, steady, seasoned, and impossibly resonant. Candace Parker, the two-time WNBA champion and one of the most influential players in basketball history, spoke words that were less about statistics or wins lost and more about something deeper. "I'm proud of Caitlin Clark," she said simply. To the casual observer, that statement might have seemed like a veteran giving a polite nod to the league's newest star. But Parker's words carried weight. For in them lived the empathy of an athlete who had walked through injuries, the admiration of a pioneer who had spent her career building paths for the next generation, and the recognition of something special in Clark that transcended the scoreboard. This is the story of why Candace Parker is proud not just of Caitlin Clark's highlights, but of her fight, her spirit, and the promise she represents to a league, to women's sports, and to anyone who has ever been knocked down only to rise again. A legacy meets a new era. Candace Parker's career has been one of both triumph and trial. From her rookie season in 2008, where she won both MVP and Rookie of the Year, to her championships in Los Angeles and Chicago, she has been the heartbeat of the WNBA's evolution. But along the way, she also weathered injuries, criticism, and the grueling demands of being a face of the league before it was fashionable or financially sustainable to bear that weight. When Parker looks at Caitlin Clark, she doesn't just see a rookie with a record-breaking three-point shot. She sees echoes of herself at 22, fearless, ambitious, carrying a franchise on her back while the world watches with both awe and scrutiny. But Clark's rise has come at a different moment in the league's trajectory. The WNBA is surging in popularity, riding the wave of record-breaking attendance, media coverage, and social media buzz. Clark has been at the center of that, a magnet pulling eyes that might never have tuned in otherwise. Yet with that spotlight comes an intensity few could handle. Parker understands this. She lived it. And that's why her pride isn't shallow, it's rooted in kinship. Beyond the injury, the ACL tear, or sprain, or fracture, depending on how each report framed it, felt devastating. It wasn't just the Fever's playoff hopes that took a hit, it was the momentum of an entire movement. Clark wasn't just playing basketball, she was carrying expectations, dragging a franchise from obscurity into relevance. But Candace Parker's response reframed the narrative. Injuries are part of this game, but character is what you build when you can't play, Parker said during an interview. What makes me proud of Caitlin is how she's handled this, with grace, with resilience, with perspective that's beyond her years. Parker wasn't praising Clark's shooting form or her 30-point nights. She was honoring the way Clark faced adversity head-on. The rookie's social media posts weren't filled with bitterness. Instead, she sent messages of gratitude, of determination, of wanting to still support her team from the sidelines. For Parker, that kind of response reveals the deeper greatness of a player. Anyone can look brilliant when they're winning. It's when the lights dim that true character shines. The power of representation. Another reason Parker is proud lies in the cultural shift Clark embodies. Candace Parker has long been an advocate for visibility in women's sports. She knows the barriers, the dismissive comments, the constant comparisons to men's basketball. She has sat in locker rooms where reporters barely showed up, where fans numbered in the hundreds, not thousands. Now, Parker sees Caitlin Clark filling arenas, breaking viewership records, and dominating sports conversations across platforms. For a veteran who fought tooth and nail for even an ounce of recognition, seeing Clark become not just a basketball star but a cultural figure is monumental. And Clark hasn't shied away from that role. Even amid her injury, she continued to engage with fans, showing up at games, mentoring young Fever players, and embracing the reality that she represents hope for millions of kids dreaming of playing in the WNBA someday. Parker's pride is rooted in knowing that Clark isn't just playing for herself. She's carrying the torch forward, brighter than ever. Mentorship in the shadows. It's easy to imagine Parker, now semi-retired and transitioning into broadcasting, watching Clark from afar with a mixture of nostalgia and hope. But their connection isn't just symbolic, it's practical. Parker has taken time to offer Clark advice, both publicly and privately. Lean into your team, Parker once told her in an on-air segment. You don't have to do it all alone.